This is the Effing One Podcast, Australia's only Formula One podcast with Adam and Luke.
G'day and welcome to the Effing One Podcast. It's Australia's only dedicated Formula One podcast, recorded by me on a couch in the postcode of 4216. And if you want any more details, please check out the Optus leak. My license number was in there, so by all means, if you want to steal my identity, go right ahead and you can record this podcast. Instead, you're stuck with me. Now, we've had a humdinger of a Suzuka Grand Prix, a shortened version, a Yuki Tsunoda version of a Formula One Grand Prix. Quite apt for Japan. They're not known for their grand stature, but some great statues. This podcast is made with producer Pete. He's on the numbers. He's tweaking the dials. He's asleep right now. Pete, wake up. There we go. Now, a quick plug to Pete's side gig. He's got a bit of a side hustle. If you want to check out Pete's Meat, no one beats Pete's Meat, except for Pete. He beats it quite often and quite thoroughly. And if you want your meat cured, he can do that. If you want your meat smothered in olive oil or honey, he can do that. If you want it, just sautéing on his chiseled physique, you can also have that. So no one beats Pete's Meat. And please, Peter, wake the fuck up. You haven't worked that long today. Okay, now it's important to get on top of the important matters before we jump into Formula One nonsense. Let's talk about the charity of the F1 podcast. Hand jobs for the homeless, resties for the refugees, or a bit of a slap and tickle for the downtrodden. Now, it's great to see so many people going down, hashtagging handjobs for the homeless and getting out there and tweaking the nipples of our downtrodden society. If you are walking past or walking under a bridge, walking past some homeless shelters, some cardboard boxes, if you see some, you know what, we're going to extend this to jerking off the junkies. If you see a junkie, tweaking out, laying on the side, drooling, just shove your hand down their pants. Just see if you can get a bit of a mouth-to-south resuscitation. All right? I completely and wholly endorse this. Robert Kubica is on board. Sebastian Vettel's on board. Adam has unfortunately picked up a venereal disease that he's passed on from Epstein Island, but hopefully we'll have him back at some point when he's allowed out of Guantanamo Bay. But yes, get down to your homeless shelter and give some relief to some people who really need it. They might need money, but they probably won't take it because they're too proud. They got their food, but they've probably got some kind of allergies to wheat or peanuts. And you're like, what can I give you? Here's a cracker. Oh no, that's got gluten in it. You're screwed. All right, you'll get an angry homeless person throwing crackers at you and going, you don't think about my intolerances. And then, you're probably going to be cancelled. So just don't think it. But by all means, there is no harm, no foul, and there is no objections. I've never had a homeless person going, mate, can you stop that? Not once. Not once have they stopped me while I've polished them off. And by all means, get down there, get your hands dirty, then wash them thoroughly afterwards. This podcast does also come with a vomit-free guarantee. If there's anything that I say in this podcast that makes you throw up all over yourself, makes yourself sick, by all means, let me know. Take a photo, send it on to me at any of the Instagram or Twitter and just go, hey, Luke, what you said here made me vomit. And I will come around to your house and clean it up. And that is my vomit-free guarantee. And if I am unable to do so, I will make sure Adam gets there before me, but I will be there. So don't wash it, don't clean it, let it sit, let it saute into the fabric, and I will be around to clean it up, give it a bit of elbow grease, and also, meet some homeless people in your neck of the woods and give them some of the charity work that I've been doing. Now, we've had the Suzuka Grand Prix. Now, the Suzuka Grand Prix was a very short Grand Prix, very Yuki Tsunoda kind of a Grand Prix. Now, it's a beautiful race, a beautiful racetrack, a terrible day in regards to rain. And if you are a witch out there, you probably couldn't go to the Grand Prix because it was too wet, you would melt. But the Suzuka Grand Prix finally got underway 2.5 hours later after it originally started. There was a big interval, and I think there should be some kind of interval entertainment. You know, they do it at, if you go to a fancy musical, or if you go to some kind of performance, there might be a bit of an intermission. So we've had a lap of racing, shit kicked off, Zhou spun, dumbasses spun, Carlos Sainz aquaplaned, Pierre Gasly decided to take some of the advertising boarding for a spin. Not necessary, Pierre. Not necessary at all. And then, of course, all shit broke loose. And the complaints, the yelling, the complaining. But what were they complaining about? Well, there was a lot. Rain, crane, and F1 doesn't learn. Now, it's a bit of a stop-start, as I said. Speedy Gasman Gasly was going incredibly quick past a tractor, complaining, yelling about the tractor. A few other drivers complained. I think everyone was a little bit uncomfortable when they saw the footage, saw the stills, everything that was going on around that time, floating around social media. It wasn't a comfortable moment when you've had a car aquaplane at that corner, just like it happened a few years ago with Jules Bianchi hitting one of the Saubers. Went off into the wall there. He went off into the same spot. I think, F1 hasn't learned. Japan hasn't learned. They've had a few years to think about it, but I think, F1 took the risk, and taking the risk isn't the smart thing to do. When you have the amount of money, the amount of intelligence you have of this, sure, you want to get the race started, and everyone wants a standing start. But sometimes you need to chuck the full wets on, let them get groovy, then let them do their pit stops. If they want to come on for intermediates, by all means, come on for intermediates. But the extreme wets are there for a reason. And when you have 20 cars going round, you're going to push some water out of the fucking way. If you go out there and once it starts raining, like it didn't get intensely heavy, I've seen them race in worse, I've seen worse spray, let's be real. But they didn't. Once an accident happened, they're like, you know what, we need to red flag this. It got a little bit heavier. If they were on extreme wets, which I'm pretty sure that's why they have extreme wets, it's for extreme wet times. Run a few laps under safety car, get the water off the track. The more cars run over, the more cars remove water. I think it's 60 litres per second that these tyres can throw up into the sky. Yep, it's going to reduce visibility. 100%. And it will. If you're at the back, you're struggling. The LED lights, we're struggling to see what these flashing, intense LED lights, but you could see them. You could slow down. You could get out of the way and not drive 200 kilometers an hour past a marshal around the front of Carlos Sainz's car, regardless of the tractor. Disregard the tractor. You can't say that reduced visibility from car spray, Pierre Gasly, you were a long way away from the back of the field. That's why you were speeding. You sped, you guaranteed, you put your hand up like, yep, I shouldn't be going that speed. That's right. Since a car aquaplaned at that point, but again, if you guys had started on extreme wets, would there have been aquaplaning at that point? Probably not. Probably, maybe, shoulda, coulda, woulda, you don't know. But if you're going to start a Grand Prix, start the race. Don't give me this start an incident, oh no, let's red flag and let's just sit here for another 2.5 hours. You're starting a clock. What's the point of the clock? You've changed it from 4 hours, you've put it back to 3 hours for whatever reason. Don't tell me Sky or someone else has something better to do than Formula 1, because they don't. They have a whole fucking channel because of it. More eyes on what's going on. I don't fathom the understanding of what's going on. And if people are concerned about catching their flights after race, guess what? Book a later flight. Don't even entertain the fact that it's going to run on time. Tough tits. I'm sure everyone can go, It's all the bigwigs that are leaving F1 early. It's not the mechanics. It's not the people dressing down the pit lane. It's not the people rolling up camera cables like miles and miles, or kilometres and kilometres if you're from Australia, of camera cabling, rolling it up. No, it's the fancy people. The fancy schmancy people need to get on their flights. Well, guess what? You're going to run a little bit late. You're going to choose a different flight. Or, fuck it, stay in the country another night. You never know. Could be a very nice country if you plan to visit it. Go to F1, you go in, you do your race, you bugger off. No, why don't you go see something? Go do something. Experience a bit of the town that you're in. You know, when you're in Saudi Arabia, go check out a local bomb site. That's fun. Fun thing to do. See, more and more ideas coming out of this podcast. So, what do we learn about, let's not put the crane out when there's cars going around? I know a lot of drivers go, the safety car's going too slow. Well, guess what? It's going to go slow because it's a safety car. So let's just let the crane go out once the field has passed. It's going to take them, let's go another lap, another 5 minutes. Get the crane out there when, all the cars have passed. The field is condensed. Everyone's back up behind the safety car. Put them behind. Once it goes past the crash zone, all right? Slow it down, 80, maybe 80 kilometers an hour. Then everyone come out. Let's get this fucking car out of the way. You'll probably have 2.5, 3 minutes to get it done. What do you need to do? You whack the tow bar through the roll hoop, whack it up to the crane, lift it up and fuck it off. All right? And by the next time they come around, you're at least near the exit point of where the crane came from, not on the fucking track. Gasly, slow down. Another point. We don't want to see what happened before. The halo ain't going to save that shit. Be smart. Don't be a fucking idiot. You're not going to win a race by speeding behind a safety car. Just dumb. All of you, dumb. Oh, here is the next rant. Congratulations, Max. You're a double world champion. I don't think anyone at track actually had realised it except for the FIA. At no point did they talk or discuss anything that was going on in F1 going, hey, we're going to give full points, even though it's only a shit short distance, we're going to give full points because we didn't stop the race. It ran till a checkered flag. Fuck that. Make it clear. No one knew. It was embarrassing. Again, F1 makes mistakes. We all make mistakes. But it's so clear cut. If you're going to do this, communicate it. There's a communications way. And you can also communicate that shit to the drivers. All right? If there's a crane on track, you tell everyone. V8s do it. They go, hey everyone, IndyCar does it. Race control, we're telling you this is happening at this point. Extreme caution, stick to the right. Whatever you need to do, talk to the drivers. It may, annoy them, but it has to be done. You may be in a mid-conversation about strategy. It's going to end because there's a safety thing that needs to overcome what you're saying. Or there's like a 3-second warning, wrap up your convos, the FIA is about to say something. It's simple. There's a way around it. There's a better way to communicate to your drivers on what is happening and for safety and all of that things. Right, my final rant. Congratulations, Max. Well done. You are the world champion. It was great at the start of the season. A nice battle with Charles Leclerc, but then Ferrari doesn't know how to organise a strategy. Couldn't organise a fart and a chili contest. Couldn't organise a kids' sex party for the Catholic Church. But the other one I want to go to rant on, the TV director. Now, I have gone on and on about the TV direction of Formula One for quite a few years. Ever since this podcast was launched, I'm pretty sure I had a solid rant. Every couple of races, F1 would just really drop the ball on how to broadcast live sport. Yeah, it's live. There's a lot of shit going on. There's 20 cars out there. Things are happening. And you can focus on one battle. But there comes a time when you're watching a battle like, all right, this isn't going anywhere. And I'm watching the times. I'm watching the gaps of everything else that's going on. I'm watching Fernando Alonso passing a car on the final lap and then chasing down another car in that same lap and nearly overtaking them before the start-finish line. Now, we had the first sign was Max Verstappen going over the start-finish line. Bam, he's won the race. Good, got that. Tick that box. Done. You've seen the race winner win the race. You go to the next race, which is Perez and Charles Leclerc. They're racing wheel to wheel. They're battling. He goes through the chicane, runs Perez wide, ends up getting a penalty. And then there's another battle going on after they've done their start-finish line, and that battle is Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel. That's right. They're there battling. But what do the F1 TV directors do? What do? And they've done it time and time again. They show another fucking replay of the exact same thing we just saw. There's a live battle going on. All right? There's something going on right now. But we're going to show a replay of that. And we can see that after the race. We can all watch that on YouTube later. We can do all of these things later. We saw it happen live. We saw the battle. We're like, oh, Charles probably shouldn't have pushed Perez wide there. Cutting the corner, not a smart thing to do. Didn't probably realise he may have lost the championship because of it. They weren't really battling for that last chicane. Charles Leclerc just went a little bit deep, ran wide, and fucked his race. And then he pushed Perez, and deservedly so, got a penalty. I don't think... But if I was Perez, I would have just stuck it around the outside. It's the last corner. It's the last little kink before the start-finish line. Just stick your car there. If he keeps pushing you off, guess what? His rear is going to hit your front right. He's going to spin around, and you're both probably going to crash. Or go onto the grass and then go over the start-finish line in a nice heap. Now that's entertaining and fun. But instead you pulled out and got a bit of a wuss. Stick it down there. Lick it and send it, Sergio. Don't be a pussy. Now, TV director, there's other things going on out there. You just need to be aware. Everyone knew what was going on. Even the fat, cigarette-puffing litterbug that commentates this sport knew that there's something else going on and we didn't see it. And even he was disappointed. As disappointed as I was when I had an interaction with him. But you could have shown it, you didn't. So many times you avoid live action for a fucking replay. A replay can be played later, can be shown on YouTube. You can be shown once every single car has crossed the start-finish line. Read the room, watch your time gaps, and press the fucking button. Tell your producers, tell your assistant directors, we're not going to go to a replay yet. You keep that on hold. We're going to go to this. We're going to go to that. We're going to watch Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel battle for the last bit. The closest battle towards the end of that. But they didn't. They didn't. We went to cut to replay, you fucking idiots. I was so pissed off. After a long-ass day, I had to flick between Bathurst because V8 racing was more exciting than people talking for 2 fucking hours. Yeah. So, get your shit right, TV director. Can you just fuck him off? Can you get someone else who has done good live sport and put them in their place? Because whoever they are, they're not doing a good enough job for as big as what this sport is. If you can't cut to action when it's happening, you're too slow, you're too old, you're too shit for your job. I don't care if someone's listening to this and they get a little heartbroken that they thought they were doing a good job, because you're not. You're shit. There might be an award for you later. Anyway, that's my rant. That's the Suzuka Grand Prix. Good race, good battle, good bit of strategies. Going on to some... I think Fernando should have put that tyre on a little bit earlier, 1 lap earlier. They were umming and ahhing. Roll the dice. Roll the dice. An idea that can make Formula 1 great again. That's what we like to do on this podcast. Make Formula 1 great again by firing the TV director. But the idea is to run a full-length Suzuka race. No Yuki Tsunoda. Let's go a full George Russell, a full Mark Webber, a good 6'1" person, and get that race done. Don't give me this Yuki Tsunoda 5 foot fuck all race. You call a Formula 1 race and then give him full points. It's not a fucking race. It's an entree. That's a sprint race. Dumbasses. Race rating 8 out of 10. Verstappen ahead of Perez, Leclerc, Ocon, Hamilton, Vettel, Alonso, Russell, Latifi, Norris. Now the gap between Vettel and Alonso, it was 7 thousandths of a second. No, 11 thousandths of a second. My apologies. My math ain't good. Yes, a Latifi P9. Congratulations, Nicholas Latifi. You scored some points on merit. Oh, I'm excited for him. I'm excited that he won't be in Formula 1 as well. Norris, 10th, and he gets a point. Congratulations, Lando, as well. The Green Award, now we're giving it to Japan. Now, Japan, you would think it might have been, Alexander Albon or, Minifon Signs for ending their race so soon, but no. They cut the race short by a lot of laps. That is how you save fuel, that is how you save the environment, and that's how you get a Green Award. Congratulations, Japan, and your weather, and your Godzillas. Congratulations. The Likert Senate Award for the greatest overtaking maneuver of the race. Now I'm giving it to Lance Stroll, lap 1, turn 1. He sent that fucking Aston Martin deep. He went past a lot of cars at that start, and he stuck it down there. A little bit risky. He made it stick. So good move, Lance. I'll tell you what, that man's starts is pretty good. Can't do much else, but his starts, phenomenal. The Pasta Maldonado Award for dangerous driving. There was only one driver out there who did something stupid and dangerous, and that's the Gasman Gasly. Woo! Pierre speeding under a double wave yellow, going over 200 clicks past a tractor and some track marshals, and then spot where Carlos Sainz aquaplane. Now that's just dumb. The Effing One Podcast Award for making Formula One great again. Now, if the FIA/F1 could do a weekend and not shoot themselves in the foot, it'd be a great racing series. So, if you're going to make it, just don't shoot yourself in the foot. Broadcast it properly. Do a good job. Let's not get caught up in controversy and bullshit. And, it's funny how you could give Charles Leclerc a really quick penalty, but for something that happened in the middle of the race, Sergio Perez in the previous race in Singapore, you couldn't quite make up your fucking mind, but this time you could, and then bang, you tried to save it, the Max Verstappen World Championship. He deserved that penalty, Charles Leclerc, 100%. The penalty that Perez got took a while to make it happen. Somehow you needed to talk to Sergio about it. Again, don't shoot yourself in the foot, and that'll make Formula 1 great again. Now we've got the Wasting Everyone's Time Award. It's the Yuji Ide Award, and Alexander Albon, the Williams team, out straight away. You didn't even crash the car. Didn't even do a good job of that. You just ended your race early. You were classified as dead last, even though I think you rolled past where Carlos was. But I still give you the Yuji Ide Award for wasting everyone's time. Congratulations to the TIE Fighter there. And the final award, the greatest award I would give in podcasting, I think. It's the... That's right, it's the Your Shit award, and no one's more shit in Formula 1 than the TV director. Congratulations, TV director, and anyone else who decided to load a replay up before we could watch the action of Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel, 6 world championships between them, and we watched a fucking replay of something we had just witnessed. Now, if you have a very short attention span, and if you are very thick in the head, you may go, I didn't see what just fucking happened. Well, guess what? You got to see it again. And you didn't get to watch live racing. So, fuck off, TV director. Your shit. They really need to fix that. For a sport that makes and does this much broadcasting, makes this much money, they go all around the world to showcase our sport, and they fuck it up. Just let's watch it live. So much better. Who wants to watch a recorded fucking replay? No one. That's why F1 fans get up at stupid o'clock in the morning to watch races all around the world. Because I dare say, Europe, America, when you're watching Australia, Japan, Chinese Grand Prix, you're in the middle of the night, you're watching that stuff. And here in Australia, we're watching it most times in the middle of the night. And let's put on a good show. The fastest lap was Zhou Guanyu with a 1 minute 44.411. Fastest pit stop is the AlphaTauri, 2.45 seconds in the rain. Driver of the day was Sebastian Vettel. That's right, Vettel, or Vettel, not Vettel. There's no F in Vettel. The tips this week, oh, Jesus, I went backwards and Jim and Pat went forwards. 14 for me, Cliff 14, T 14, Pete 14, Jim 17, Pat 16. Oh, you bastard Foley boys. I may have to throw some haymakers here. Jim, you were ahead on 245, Pat 243, myself 239, Cliff 237, T's on 228, and Pete 214. Yes, not many races to go. Got to pull a rabbit out of the hat. How many races we got left? 4? USA, Mexico, Brazil, Abu Dhabi. Right, 4. What's the gap? 6. All right, let's go pull some fucking haymakers. And the third championship, this is a reverse championship for anyone who's listening to this podcast before. You know exactly what I'm talking about. For those who are brand new to the podcast, you've made your mistake. You're already halfway into this podcast. This is the third championship. It's the most important championship. The World Championship in Formula 1 is done and dusted. Max Verstappen's wrapped it up. There's 4 races to go. What's interesting in Formula 1? The third championship. That's right. It's the reverse championship. It decides who is the shittest driver in Formula 1. It's gone to some greats. Nikita Mazepin, a phenomenal shit driver. It was such a close battle. You used to have Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen in the Haas a few years ago, and you got Nicholas Latifi. He's always up there trying to be the shittest, and he is winning it this year. He's on 182 negative points. So if you've finished 20th, you get negative 25, then it's negative 18, negative 15, just like the points would be in the positives for first, second, third to 10th. From 11th, you go into the negatives, negative 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 15, 18, and 25. That is the point structure of the third championship. Nicholas Latifi, he scored points this week, so he didn't score any third championship points. His lead has stabilised. He is 182. Swery Tsunoda on 161. Great Wall of China, Guan Yu Zhou, 149 negative points. Junior Schumacher, 140. Ruining another tub. Some say he's too expensive to stay. I think this is his 4th chassis tub of the season that he's fucked. Junior does some solid driving, but geez, he does some solid crashing as well. Suck my balls, Magnussen, negative 126. So let's go through the teammate battles. Latifi and the TIE Fighter. Now, Latifi's on 182. TIE Fighter is 127. So it's a big gap between the TIE Fighter and Latifi. There will go Swery Tsunoda on 161 and Gasman on 91. Swery Tsunoda has finished a lot of Grand Prix early. And he's also been a bit of a shit driver. Great Wall of China, Guan Yu Zhou, 149 in the negative. He did finish one of those races upside down. That wasn't his fault. Negative 149 points for the Great Wall. And his teammate is Beras Bottas on 101. So 48-point difference between those two. Junior Schumacher, 140, and Suck My Balls Magnussen, 126. Close gap there, 14 points. Who's next? The personality, Daniel Ricciardo. Now, he is flogging Chuck Norris in the shittest driver at McLaren. He's negative 89 for the personality, Ricciardo, and Chuck Norris is negative 36. A sincere, severe, and extreme gap between those two. Then we've got the finger boy. That is Sebastian Vettel. He's on negative 77 points. And Daddy Boy Stroll, negative 42. So full-time world champion, very, very shit in the third championship. Now you've got the Fonz, That's Fernando Alonso. He's on negative 74. He is shitter than the French stick Ocon, who's on negative 27. Big gap between those two. Fons hasn't had a lot of luck, but according to this, he is the shittest driver. Now, between Ferrari boys, you've got Mini Fons Sainz on negative 83, and we have the chosen one, Charles Leclerc, on negative 43. So Mini Fons 83, chosen one 43. The Tijuana Tussler, Sergio Perez, he's on negative 65. And we have his teammate, Mad Max Verstappen, on negative 33. Big gap between those two, 32 points for the Tijuana Tussler ahead of Mad Max. See, there's so much going on in this Turd Championship. This doesn't end right now. This is going on and on and on. The Douche Canoe, negative 29, and Boy George, 24. Close Turd Championship. Oh, it's exciting. And the man who's at the very, very bottom, he only raced 2 races, talented Nico Hulkenberg, he's on negative 14 of the Turd Championship. Now let's get into the actual championship. What's going on? Max Verstappen has wrapped it up. He's on 366 points, ahead of Sergio Perez, 253. Charles Leclerc, 252, so close battle for second. Then we go to third. Close battle between fourth. George Russell, 207. Carlos Sainz, 202. 5 points between them. Who's going to win that one? Way back, we're going to Lewis Hamilton, 180. Alonso he's 13 points. 13 points behind Esteban Ocon. Esteban Ocon had a very good race in Suzuki. He knows how to steer the car in the wet, does Esteban. Lando Norris is 101 points. He's ahead of Esteban. So it's Lewis, 180. Lando, 101. Esteban, 78. Fernando Alonso, 65. Valtteri Bottas, the bare-ass Bottas. You'll find him in nature, sanding his cheeks. He's on 46 points. Sebastian Vettel, 32. Daniel Ricciardo, 29. He's behind an Aston Martin. I just want to point that out. Pierre Gasly, 23 points. Kevin Magnussen, 22. Lance Stroll, 13. Mick Schumacher, 12. Yuki Tsunoda, 11. Zhou Guanyu, 6. Alexander Albon, 4. Nicholas Latifi, 2. Nick De Vries, 2. Did one race, 2. Nico Hulkenberg, 0 points. Now, there is rumours going around about Haas. What's going on? Who's going to drive there? Mick Schumacher could be staying. Also could be going to Nico Hulkenberg, because Nico Hulkenberg doesn't break as many cars. He is the Hulk, but he won't break as many cars as Junior Schumacher does. So that's interesting. I wonder who's going to win that seat for Haas. Now, there's another seat going. It is the Williams seat. I believe it might be going to Logan Sargent, the young American driver. He'll be driving in a practice session for them this week. Exciting. I like Logan Sargent. There's heaps of American talent. Haas said they weren't never really concerned, but they've got a big American sponsor that's come in for a multi-year deal and title sponsor. That's exciting for them. Pierre Gasly has signed for Alpine. What else is going on in the news of Formula One? Singapore's going to cut some corners out. They're going to be developing some part of their world there, and they're cutting corners. Again, no one gives a fuck. You'll miss a couple of corners. Tough tits. Aston Martin and Red Bull are spending all their money. The fines may not be too severe. Mercedes doesn't like it because they've breached the rules. They've got performance gains. Red Bull have said, we didn't spend by that much, and calm down. But I think if the FIA is as spineless as they continue to be, it'll be a behind-the-scenes deal, just like they did with Ferrari and their burning oil and engine things that were going on. I think it was 2018. And nothing will happen. It'll be behind the doors, and there'll be a slap on the wrist and go, hey, guys, just don't do it again, thanks. Gasman Alpine, as I said before, a full foie gras French wonder team at Alpine. AlphaTauri signs Nick De Vries. Very exciting. Alfa Romeo commits to the wall. That's right, the wall. Guan Yu Zhou, he'll be staying at Alfa Romeo. Haas, Williams, Hulkenberg, Logan Sargent. Who knows what's going to go on there? They could keep Schumacher, as I said, with Haas. Now, if you want to talk about Constructors' Championship, Red Bull well ahead, 6:19. I can't see Ferrari catching them. Ferrari 4.54. Mercedes 3.87. So those three are sorted. Alpine is 13 ahead of McLaren. Alpine had a good weekend in Suzuka. Not great for McLaren. Then there's a huge gap from McLaren on 130 down to Alfa Romeo 52. See, this is why the Turd Championship is so exciting. I should do a Turd Championship for teams. A Turd Team Championship. It rolls off the tongue well. Aston Martin 45, 7 points behind Alfa Romeo. Then you got Haas, they're 34. They are 11 points behind Aston Martin. And then Alpha Tauri also on 34. So a bit of a battle between those two. Battle for bugger all. And Williams dead last, 8 points. Shit. The next race is the Circuit of the Americas, United States 2022 Grand Prix. There is 2 DRS zones. How many corners does this fucking thing have? It's huge. It's 20 corners. I do like this track. It seems like a fun track to drive. The circuit length is 5.513 kilometers, 56 laps. First Grand Prix was 2012. Race distance is 308.405 kilometers. And the lap record is Charles Leclerc in 2019 with a 1 minute 36.169. Now let's look at the tyres. I know you all tune in to the F1 podcast to hear about tyres. They are using the C2, C3 and C4. Important. Front PSI 23 PSI, rears 20 PSI, EOS camber limit. Front wheel negative 3.25% or degrees of camber. Anything more, you get slapped in the face. Unless you do a behind the deal and they don't do anything about it. But it's interesting that you can overspend. Sorry, I'm getting off. I'll tell you the rear camber because that's what you want to hear before you turn off. 2 degrees rear negative camber. Any more than that, and who cares? I'll probably throw the book at you. But if you can't produce a fuel sample, a 1 litre fuel sample, if you can't provide that, then you'll be thrown out of a Grand Prix. But if you overspend and win a championship, nothing happens. You'll get a fine. I dare say, why don't you, if you can't provide a fuel sample, like a 1 litre, so let's say if you can't provide 200 mils of fuel sample. 200 mils is a lot. That's a decent... Surely you can test everything you need to test in a 200 mil fuel sample. You don't have a litre, you get excluded for the Grand Prix. It's like it didn't even happen. Sebastian Vettel, Hungarian Grand Prix last year. You're out. You don't count. But if you cheat and spend too much money, that's okay. That's fine. Slap on the wrist. We'll give you a fine, which... I think they're okay with spending money. They just overspend. No surprise Aston Martin did. Daddy Stroll's chucking money at everyone. The weather for the United States Grand Prix, 15 degrees to 31 on Friday, 19 degrees to 32 on Saturday, 22 to 32 on Sunday. It's going to be a warm one. A couple of clouds around, maybe not. Probably going to be clear, no rain chance at all. The race times, what time, wherever you are in the world... Probably not any. There's going to be places who I may not mention in this list. So figure it out. Auckland, 8 a.m. Monday morning. Melbourne, 6 a.m. Also Monday morning. Nerang, if you're here on the Gold Coast, Queensland, you are 5 a.m. Adelaide, somehow behind on the timeline, but ahead in time. 5:30 a.m. Perth, 3 a.m. Kathmandu. Now, 12:45 a.m. You're probably thinking this is the time I'm going to wake up, and by the time I get to the top of Everest, I'll be seeing the sun come up. But how about you just sit in your tent at base camp, whichever base camp you're at. If you're at base camp 4, sure you get a great reception up there. Just chill, sit there, enjoy the bit of the race, the United States Grand Prix. Dubai 11 p.m. Helsinki 10 p.m. Stockholm 9 p.m. Remember, Kathmandu is 12:45 a.m. That's 0045 a.m. Don't think it's afternoon. It is after midnight. Just remember that. Helsinki 10 p.m. Stockholm 9 p.m. London 10... London what? I need to check my stats again. What's going on here? This is a live bit of the podcast. United States Grand Prix 8 p.m. 8 p.m. London, 8 p.m. What I wrote down was incorrect. Helsinki, 10 p.m. Stockholm, 9 p.m. London, 8 p.m. Sao Paulo, 4 p.m. New York, 3 p.m. Los Angeles, midday, noon. That's it, 12 p.m. That's your time. And Honolulu, 9 a.m. A nice way to start your Sunday morning, Honolulu. After all those shitty ones get up at 3 a.m., you have a nice one now. Congratulations. Previous poll was Max Verstappen with 1 minute 32.910. And the winner was Max Verstappen ahead of Hamilton and Perez. I think, what can we look forward to? Will Max win? He'll probably win. But I do hope that the Mercedes, the Ferrari can actually offer a challenge. Next race, let Perez win. It's Mexico. But for this weekend, let's go all out. Someone throw a spanner in the works. Let's have a bit of fun. Now, the food that I'll be eating this weekend for the United States Grand Prix, now I'm going to eat everything American. Highly processed, sugar-filled foods with a side of severe obesity. I'm going to have swollen cankles and a elevated heart rate. And I'll smash a rack of ribs. I'm going to do that tomorrow night. Rack of ribs with a side of freedom fries. So wherever you are this weekend, enjoying the Austin Grand Prix, I hope you have a good time. By all means, if you have any comments, suggestions, let me know. Message me on Instagram. Tweet me on the Twitter sphere. By all means, if you want to join the tipping competition, it's not too late. If you jump on now, go to the pin tweet on Twitter, put in your quality predictions, put in your race predictions, and then go to town. Let me know. Just tell me what you think. If you like something, if you dislike something, tell someone else. I don't want to hear any negative feedback. But have a great weekend. Enjoy some American food. Get on board. Say hi to Horsey McHorseface, and I'll be talking to you next week for a wrap-up of this one and a preview for the Mexico Grand Prix. Bye now. Cheers, cunt.